What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker with this week's video. And this week, I'm going to do a Kingdom Hearts video about my theory regarding the Keyblade, regarding, its origins, the exact circumstance regarding why it was split up into 20 pieces, and what the how it could be reforged. Because I guarantee the remaking of it is still in the cards for the rest of the series. So yeah, I'm gonna go over all that. With all that being said, on with the video. So here's what we know about the Keyblade. So we know that whoever wields it can use it to unlock and control Kingdom Hearts. Um, basically use it to, remake the world, probably make a new world or something. Heck, probably could use it to get rid of all Heartless and Nobodies. And we know during the Keyblade War, it split into 7 lights and 13 darknesses. As far as exactly when it happened, that's not known, or not it was like the end of the war, or if it was like during it, because according to the Masters, we know that apparently the Keyblade War has been going on for like a long time, even before like the events of Key. And as far as Key is a letter, so it's pronounced as either Ki or Kai, and it's a letter that means death and spells endings. And the letter, and basically it's an X, so it was known as the Rakusan sigil, and was used by Organization 13 along with the letters within the human names for each member to make anagrams that would be used as names for each organization member. Specifically when they were in their nobody forms. Now, their human forms, they just went by their original name, but as nobodies, they went by, their nobody name, which had the X added in. And we know that Xehanort has attempted to make a new Keyblade, like, multiple times. Basically 2 times mainly. So in Birth by Sleep, he had Ventus, who had the Heart of Pure Light, and Vanitas, who was the darkness that was stripped out of Ventus, fight on Keyblade Graveyard, and basically their merger like created an incomplete Keyblade. And now we've know since then that Vinius was also one of the 13 willful darknesses, as well as being Ventus's darkness. And then we know Kingdom Hearts 3. So you had the 7 Guardians of Light fought the real Organization 13. Um, yeah. So in that, of course, the 7 Guardians, was Sora, Riku, Kyrie, who's one of the Princes of Hearts, Lee, Mickey, Aqua, and Ven. And so, and yeah, so that fight, that whole clash, caused another Keyblade to form, and then that Keyblade seemingly has disappeared whenever Sora, I guess, sent away Kingdom Hearts before it could like destroy the whole world, the whole universe, whatever. My guess is it probably disappeared. Probably doesn't exist anymore. Like that Keyblade at least. And now we know that so this for the 7 lights, they're now the princesses of heart. And as far as the 13 darknesses, we've seen them appear as darknesses. One of them is Vanitas. And Xehanort seemed to have suspected that, given some of the words he spoke to Vanitas in Dark Road. Like it's implied he at least suspects like that Vinius is not just Ventus's darkness. And of course, Kingdom Hearts 3 hinted at that with Vinius's dialogue. And then when Sora fought darkness inside of Ventus's heart, that was Vanitas as like darkness, but not in his form. And we know that Keyblades are based on the original Keyblade. Now for my theory regarding the Keyblade. So whenever the original one existed, I believe it was wielded by an angel-esque being called a Kai. And I think that's how Kai Blade became an alternate name. And so basically Kai was like kind of like some a herald for like Kingdom Hearts. Like, basically like let's say Kingdom Hearts in this it was basically God. So Kai would be basically like one of the angels that would come down, speak to the people. Like instances in the Bible, like with, Gabriel most famously, and then a lot of the messengers throughout, like the Old and New Testament, basically like that. So Kai, I would say, in the ancient past had granted keyblades to 13 apprentices, like human apprentices. They got keyblades. They're basically, in essence, they were like disciples. Basically, they were like humans serving directly under Kai. They're all basically like basically Kai's representatives to humanity, like across all worlds. Now, those apprentices, I think, betrayed Kai and tried to take over Kai's power, take the control of the Keyblade. But, with the Keyblade being tied, I think the Keyblade was tied to Kai's heart. And so the whole battle, like when they defeat, it causes Kai's heart to split into Light Kai and Dark Kai. And, with the Keyblade, basically being split into those two halves as well, with the Keyblade and Kai's heart being like basically one and the same. Like the Keyblade would just be a manifestation of Kai's power. So after that, I think Light Kai found a human vessel to inhabit, creating the first Guardian of Light, who founded a heroic group of Keyblade wielders to stand against, the 13 Dark Apprentices. So and Dark Kai, I think, split itself into 13 beings, with each of those beings influencing one apprentice in order to make them go to war with each other, basically as a way to seek revenge for the apprentices betraying Kai. So, like, Dark Kai, of course, would be evil, so, you know, each one would want to, basically, each Kai would be like, all right, you betrayed me, y'all die. Basically, like, Dark Kais manipulate each of the apprentices to go to war with each other as like a sign of revenge. And basically, and then with the Guardian of Light being existing, basically also wanting the prince to deal with the Guardian of Light, because the Guardian of Light would lead an army. So basically, each Dark Apprentice, would have each one would have their own individual army, starting the Keyblade War, and like basically would go on for a while, whatever. And so I think the Guardian of Light had, you know, in so and some point, like the Guardian Light, I say passed on had 7 daughters and passed on the power of Light Kai evenly to each of them, which I would say led to the existence of the Princesses of Heart. And the 13 Darknesses now, given what we've seen in Key and later on, I would say they're seeking vessels to better be able to better influence humanity, like to achieve their goals and become like dark versions of the princesses of heart. Like, basically where we got like the royal like the how like whatever the actual name would be. Like where it's like the Lords of Darkness or something. Actually that'd be a cool freaking name. Lords of Darkness. That actually would be cool name. Princess of Heart versus the Lords of Darkness. That actually be a nice name. Anyway, now another theory is that Xehanort never made a complete Keyblade. Now we know he didn't do it in Birth by Sleep. Like basically, we know like there was an issue with the numbers, he believes, like and also the pure light. Now I think the true reason why it was incomplete is that so yes, you have pure light, pure darkness, but it was an unnatural thing. So it was not it was not like the Kai powers. So you did have a dark Kai power, but a portion of it with Vanitas. But it was only a portion. It was not the complete. I believe the complete Kai power would be needed in order for it to be used. In order for the in order for it to happen, I think both the entirety of all the light Kai and Dark Kais have to be reunited to forge a complete Keyblade. Neither of those attempts involved that. You had one Dark Kai with Vanitas in Birth by Sleep, and and you know, and basically Vanitas he was a pure, but it was just a regular light. It was not a Kai light, so it would just still be incomplete. And the case of in Kingdom Hearts 3, you did have a light Kai with Kyrie, but it was just a seventh of the full power. And the case of Vanitas, and that was a replica of Vanitas. That wasn't the true Vanitas. So it wasn't a true Dark Kai power. It was just a replica. Now, you did have the Dark Kai power there, though, with Ventus, because you had, basically Ventus at that point in time in the present was completed between light and darkness. Like you did have like Venus's heart was fully complete again at the end of Birth by Sleep. So Venus's the darkness that we had called named Venus was inside of Ventus during Kingdom Hearts 3. But you had a replica that he had fought, and then the Dark Kai was there, but ironically fine on the side of light because I guess that dark was probably not making its move yet or whatever. Who knows? Who knows what that Dark Kai's motives were at that point in time? Now, in regards to an incomplete Keyblade, I think an incomplete one could potentially, and I think part of the fact that it was reason it was incomplete is because you had a Kai power there with Vanitas in Birth by Sleep, and then Kyrie and Vent with Kyrie and Ventus in Kingdom Hearts 3. So since it's incomplete, it could maybe unlock Kingdom Hearts and basically destroy but it could not control the power. So basically, when Kingdom Hearts would be summoned and like unlocked, or whatever, it would just destroy the universe. So whoever wields the incomplete Keyblade can't actually do anything outside of like basically just like summon it, unleash its power. Like Kingdom Hearts cannot be used to actually create a new universe, new world, whatever. Basically, like it would just be destruction. Now, what would happen after? Either there's just nothingness, which Xehanort probably would have been okay with, or Kingdom Hearts itself would make a new universe. Like basically, like Kingdom Hearts itself would make something new instead of the wielder of the Keyblade using Kingdom Hearts' power to do it. Now, and I think if a Keyblade was actually completed, I think once the Keyblade once I think we will get a complete Keyblade some point, like in the end of the series, whatever the last game is, or the last game that involves like a you know fighting over Kingdom Hearts, you know, like whichever one that is, I think we will get a complete Keyblade, and I think it will choose a wielder. Like it will choose a wielder, and I think it would be Sora. Let's be real. The Kingdom Key chose Sora. It's safe to say the Keyblade will choose Sora, since those are both based on who's the most worthy. Now, I think someone will have to have both light and darkness win their hearts in order to be able to wield it. So obviously that takes any pure light out of the equation and pure darkness. But yeah, so once that happens, I think you know yeah. So however that happens, I think that we will see the fact that like because does anyone also if a Keyblade actually was chosen by who's most worthy? There is no way in hell Xehanort would get chosen over Sora. That is just a fact. Sora would get chosen over Xehanort. So I think that is evidence to the fact that the Keyblade we saw in Kingdom Hearts 3 was incomplete. And that's it. Do you all agree with this theory? Do you disagree with this theory? You like this video, dislike this video? You have your own theories about the Keyblade, its origins, what will, how exactly the pieces can be what they are. You know, you can, put all that stuff in the comments, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Look forward to the next video.